this video, we're going to talk about polygonal modeling and also how to do polygonal and mesh editing. So in the previous video, we experiment with some basic tools in Maya here to create some polygonal modeling or meshes. Now, saying meshes and saying polygonal models is basically the same thing. When we talk about meshes, we are actually talking about polygons. So when we do edit mesh here, or we use the menus mesh or edit mesh, we are actually talking about polygonal modeling. Now, in the previous video, we created this kind of cartoonish looking building, and we concentrated mainly on the starting subdivisions and on how we can use them later. Now, in this video, we're going to start with something really simple without subdivisions, and then we will continue to model using a standard primitive, a really simple object. So I'm gonna firstly insert an image here. We already learned how to do that a couple of times during the course. So this is the same procedure that we used before. So I'm trying to use an image with some references, with some dimensions. Now, when you use dimensions, it's better because you know how much you have to scale down or scale up your 3D model based on the image. So using references, it's really important to do a more precise job. Now, you never can be 100% precise, but you can get really close to absolute precision if you use references. Now, it's better to use vector graphics from AutoCAD if you need to do architecture or graphic design for Illustrator, but also images are okay, so you can use them. They're gonna be less precise because they work in pixels, but they're gonna be okay. Now you see there that I rotated 90 degrees on the X, the image using the channel box panel, and actually I need to go the other way because it was like inverted, so I will type 270, and then we're gonna figure out the scale here. So I'm gonna switch to the 4 views, and I have this really dense grid. So I can also, we saw how we can edit the grid and customize the grid, because the grid can be useful here also when we create and retrace the image. So we saw how we can do that using NURBS by just creating, retracing or vectorizing the image using vectors or curves and then extrude. But in this video, we're going to talk about polymodeling. So this is another technique that you can use in architecture or in what is called art polymodeling. So modeling art surfaces, art objects like walls or furniture. I'm gonna go here to the preferences first and set up the units. So I will stick to centimeters, but if you want, you can change that to meters or millimeters, depending on what you prefer. And in the modeling here, we can just see the part concerning the polygons if we want. But in this case, let's go straight to action. So one last thing in the display, I'm gonna set up the grid a little bit better. I have here 1 unit, so it's 1 centimeter, and I'm gonna set this one grid line every 100 centimeters, so it's gonna be 1 line each meter, and or let's say something smaller actually, which is better for architecture and interior design, like 30 centimeters for each grid line. And if we want, we can then add some subdivisions. Now it's 10, so I have 10 subdivisions inside each 30 centimeters. So I'm gonna set this to 3, so we have a smaller grid there for each 10 centimeters, and then we have a higher grid for 30 centimeters. So I hope I don't get you confused. Right now I just created a box using the grid snap, and this is 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. And if I use 3 squares times 3 squares, this is going to be 30 times 30 centimeters. Now I know that at the beginning the grid and the units could be a little bit overwhelming, but we are doing something really simple here. And also I am extruding the box there because I'm using the interactive creation, and this is now 30 times 30 times 30 units, which means centimeters in our case. And also I can change the length and the width of the overall grid from there. So I'm trying to customize a little bit the grid to fit my needs here, because I need to work in measures that will be around 30 centimeters. So this is how you can effectively and appropriately customize everything to fit your need. So that's a 30 centimeter box, which is our, let's say, starting module. We need to then scale up the image there to be scaled accordingly to that box. So in reality, when we create an external wall, usually it's around 30 centimeters. Now, if we have dimensions on the image, we can be sure about that. But if we don't have dimension, we need to guess. And the best guess for the external walls is 30 centimeters. So first of all, I'm gonna edit the pivot of the image. I've turned edit pivot on and I'm changing the position of the pivot. I'm going really fast with this lesson, but we talked about all this stuff previously, so you may want to take the previous lessons. So in the edit pivot, I'm going to edit just the pivot and place it somewhere here in the external wall, some place that I can use then to scale up everything else. So I'm gonna place it right there. You can see this is an image, so we can see pixels, and we cannot be precise down to the millimeter, but doesn't matter because we are doing architecture, we are doing something pretty big, so we don't care to be so precise. And again, more precision means being slower in the creation of something, so don't waste your time trying to be too much precise because there is no need there. And then gonna snap to the grid and move the image right there, just where the corner of that box is. So you can see that now the external wall, it's precisely where my box, my 30 centimeters cube is. So I'm gonna scale using the simple scale tool until I make that fit right there. So I want the thickness of the wall to be just as large as the 30 centimeters cube there. So this is an effective way to scale and a fast way to scale everything up in order to be like one-to-one scale. And then we can continue from here because now we have exact measures, we have exact references from the image, so we can continue using this little cube, and from this cube we're going to model everything. So this is the beauty of polygonal modeling. So first of all, I'm going to set up the height to be 300. So this means it's going to be 300 centimeters, so 3 meters. And I have the precise translation there. In the epsilon, I'm going to type 150, because remember that the pivot is always going to be in the middle. So you either change the position of the pivot before, or you do some mathematics and divide by 2. Or also we can move directly the face that we need. This is something that it's pretty handy and useful when you do polygonal modeling. You just move the face. You don't care anymore about the parameters. You just go through the face there. You set up 300 centimeters in the move